Mainoo wants to leave Manchester United on loan. We're talking the big hijack, Xavi to Tottenham, but Chelsea still may bid. We're looking at Liverpool and Newcastle as Newcastle sign a replacement for Alexander Isak. All that and much more. Get the like button hit. Get yourself subscribing. Plus, the brand new hype button. You can hype this video up right now on YouTube. Just scroll to the left of the comment section or search around where you hit the like button, etc., and get this video hyped up. I know the sound might be a little off. It's a different. I'm using a different microphone. I am away, so forgive the unfamiliar settings. But I had to speak about the news that's broken in the last 12 hours. I have to come and speak to my community because I think it's been a highly significant last 24 hours in the transfer window. And I am going to start with my club, Manchester United. I have to, because we have obviously seen Alejandro Garnacho, the here we go. The deal is done, 40 million total package. I'm okay with that. I would have wanted much more, but with the way his brother, the way the player has behaved, not being open to any other football clubs, Man United's hands tied behind their backs, but we've still not been able to get a really good price for a player in a long time, and that's heavily disappointing. There is a sell-on clause of around 10%, which I am happy with. So from a financial standpoint, it's mildly okay. I'm gutted that the player is gone. I'm gutted that he's ended this way. And I think Chelsea have signed themselves a very, very good player indeed. I think I still stand on what I've said. I get a lot of stick from United fans that are like, oh, it's really funny because I get stick from United fans that are like, your boy is gone. Your boy is gone. At the same time, they're saying that the manager and the system and the way we're playing, which is essentially stop the development of Garnacho, is whack and it's wrong. There is such a mad irony. And it's Chelsea Football Club and Bayern Munich that were fighting over this player. So, from my point of view, I'm gutted it's ended this way. I think Chelsea are getting a very good player. On top of that, what we've seen is Mainoo. And I'm actually going to read it here because I don't have all my normal setup in front of me. So you can see me reading off my phone this morning. But essentially, the news surrounding Mainoo is thus, and I'm going to go to it here because I think this was really, really significant news that came through quite late last night as well. So I was already in bed. I had a really long day, went to bed at about 9:30, 10 o'clock. But I woke up to this, and it's that Mainoo has informed Man United of a wish to leave on loan before deadline. The 20-year-old told Man United he has no desire to sever ties completely with the club, but wants to move for game time. Club made it clear they are not sanctioning a temporary switch and expect the England international to fight for his place. And I can't lie to you, I'm really torn on this. I'm really, really torn in two. Partly because I want to make sure I say this in the right way. I feel as though Mainoo shouldn't run away from fighting for his place. I've been a massive advocate for many, many years for players to fight for their place in the team, for players to not run at the first sign of trouble. I remember when Ragnick joined the club and Rashford had a few games on the bench. Within a few games, the media stories, he's looking for a new club, he'll look to leave. And we have this habit at United that as soon as a player isn't guaranteed a first starting berth, they want to leave. I don't like the attitude. I don't like the behavior. I don't like the lack of professionalism. That being said, and I know that some people are going to clip that up and go crazy, that's because they're polarized. I also see it from the other side, which is Mainoo doesn't see a pathway into the team. This sends a message, especially after what Amrim himself said just 2 days ago, that I'm not sure the player or many of the players like the way that the direction the club is going in terms of style of play, and maybe they're not willing to give it a go. It's a World Cup year. He doesn't feel like he's being developed. And another thing that Cobby will be looking at, and I empathize and I understand this, is he'll look at Scott McTominay, he'll look at Rashford, he'll look at Garnacho and think some of those guys have been forced out of the club. Some of those guys have misbehaved and been sold, but they've all ended up in clubs currently in better situations than Manchester United. Yet I'm here. So I do see it from both sides. But what it makes me conclude, because I don't have an answer, I don't have an answer for what's right or wrong. I think there is poor management and poor running of the club on one side, and there is unprofessionalism on the other in its extremities. But there's also probably a truth in the middle, and that is that Man United are still in such a mess. I think we have him. I think the way we've gone about remedying the bomb squad, as they've been referred to all year, has been good. But this idea that negotiating well on this deal and having a fixed system and not allowing players to misbehave and get away with it, doing that, even doing that perfectly in one summer, was never going to fix Manchester United. And we are still seeing the beyond. It's not even burning embers. There are still fires from the legacy issues at this club, and it's painful to see. I mean, it doesn't look like he's going to go at this particular point, but it also makes me feel like we're not bringing anybody else in. So it's an absolute mess in relation to what's going on with Cobby. Maybe there's a delay in this news. Maybe this came out before Wednesday. Maybe this was a conversation that happened before Wednesday's game. And they often say the news is 2 or 3 days behind. Maybe it's already been resolved internally and we're going to stress for a few days for nothing. But Man United, it feels like a storm isn't coming. A storm is here. It's a very tough and horrible time, and let's see how how things pan out in the window. But we still need the goalkeeper. We still need the midfielder. There's a couple of days left, and as of right now, there's been no movement in any of those areas. But as ever, look, I want your thoughts, your opinions, your comments below, please. Thank you. Now, an exclusive bit of news broke yesterday evening from Fabrizio Romano, and that was in relation to Xavi to Tottenham. No, that's actually a lie. It was Ben Jacobs yesterday afternoon that broke the news that Spurs were advancing for Xavi. And KJ did a brilliant job, went live for it. But I read through some of the comments. I was chilling a little bit last night and just seeing what had been going on in the community. No way Spurs are getting in. This is premature. Chelsea going to hijack. Well, now, and I can read you a plethora of stories that's come out since. But in the last half an hour, as I'm recording this, Xavi has completed his medical before a move to Tottenham. 60 million euro deal, club to club agreed, personal terms done for the 22-year-old to join Tottenham, pending final details to be sorted between the Dutch international and Leipzig. Now, what's very interesting about this is Chelsea fans are scratching their head. We'll come to Tottenham in a moment. Chelsea fans are scratching their heads, and I understand and I get why. I remember doing videos on Xavi to Chelsea, maybe up to 6, 7 weeks ago. And I was speaking to journalists privately, and they said, "Look, the personal terms are agreed. People see this as good as done." They were saying that about that. They were saying that about the Xavi deal and about the Hato deal. Both those deals at the same time were getting the same type of response privately when I was asking journalists. The club see them as done. The club see them as fairly simple from this point. But the longer the Xavi deal went on, and the closer we got to deadline day, there was always a chance of a hijack. There's always a chance of it going wrong because the player wanted to leave. Now, of course, Fabrizio Romano is going to get a lot of stick because he's said vehemently Xavi only wants Chelsea. Now he'll get a lot of stick and he'll get a lot of he'll get a lot of uh, abuse as well because that's ended up not being how it's played out. And this is why, for me, Ben Jacobs is one of the goats in this industry. Not because you've seen him on streams with me, and I've asked him questions. Oh, the reports are that Manchester United is close, and he'll go, "No, I wouldn't go close." I would say, and he breaks it down. He can exaggerate that and get the headlines, but as far as I'm concerned, he doesn't do it. However, it doesn't mean that situations can't change. And what Ben told us about 3 weeks ago here on the Football Terrace was this, and I think it was hugely significant, is that a player may say, and he was talking about Garnacho, ironically, that a player may say on day one, on day 10, on day 30, on day 50 of the transfer window that they only want one club. But if that club doesn't bid or that club doesn't come to an agreement with your current club, you're the vendor in this situation, there's always a chance that your mind can change if your biggest motivator is leaving the club that you're currently at. And I think that is what's really significant here. Tottenham, this is a fantastic player. This is an amazingly fantastic player. This is an excellent individual. And yes, they've missed out on Gibbs White. Yes, they have missed out on Eze, but they've ended up with Xavi. And I don't listen. I think Eze is better than the other two. I actually think Eze would have been the best of all three. But I don't feel as though Tottenham have ended up with a bum. I don't think they've ended up with a dead signing. Now that doesn't guarantee he's going to make it in the Premier League because that's why you talk about transfers on paper versus transfers in reality. But on paper, very technically gifted, can create, can help score goals. It gives a great dichotomy and contrast in the attack for Tottenham, and I think a very, very comfortable piece of business. Now, what Plattenberg has said about this, and I want to read you this though. He said that if Chelsea don't submit an offer in the next few hours, Xavi Simons is now set to move to Tottenham. So that was put out about an hour ago. So I'm recording this at around 9 a.m. That was put out around 8 a.m. Just to give you the timings. So it's believed that if a bid from Chelsea does not go in within the AM on the 29th of August 2025, Xavi will become a Tottenham player. And I do get the nerves that Tottenham fans have had with the here we go for Gibbs White not happening. The agreement in principle with Eze, Arsenal took him, and of course the history with Chelsea and the Willian deal all those years ago, medical complete, and he still became a Chelsea player. And if Chelsea bid, I do think it will change things. I'm sorry to say that, Spurs fans. I think if Chelsea come in now and put that bid in, I think it will be over. But and that's interesting. I think that's why there hasn't been a here we. The only thing I would, and by the way, by the time this comes out, the here we go may have come. And I know the here we goes are not 100% a guarantee because a done deal is not a completed deal. But maybe that's the nervousness there that people are going, oh, you know, Fabrizio has said consistently that it's only Chelsea that he wants. You know, imagine after all the stick that Fabrizio's got, Chelsea do put the bid in and get him. It would show again that he was quote unquote right. But look, I think it's a massive coup. I think it's a really, really good piece of business indeed for Tottenham Football Club. I really, really do. Now, the other deal I wanted to speak about as well, and I'm just trying to get all the details in front of me because I am doing this all on my phone, as you all know, because I think this was another massive, massive moment in the transfer window last night. And that is the Alexander Isak replacement to Newcastle. And this one kind of maybe it didn't blindside you all because you're on socials yesterday, but basically the Grimsby game finished. I did the match reaction and I've been away on holiday since. And I have, every now and then I check the news, but I've not been, it's not like when I'm working and I've got my Twitter feeds up, the news feeds up, the radio on, and I'm kind of aware of what's happening around me. And this here, breaking news, and I'm going to end up butchering his name because I don't know how his name is pronounced. If I'm being honest with you, but Nick Voldem, is it Voldemade to Newcastle? Here we go. Agreement in place after official bid accepted. A fee over 80 million euros plus add-ons. Medical in England in the next 24 hours. Long-term deal. Ben Jacobs has stated that this is the. I think Ben Jacobs has said this, and now I need to go and make sure I'm quoting Ben correctly because what I don't want to do is sit here and lie on Ben's name. I swear, sometimes you read something and you're like, "No, I definitely read that," and then you start to question yourself a little bit. The Worcester deal to Newcastle still on, by the way, but let me just scroll back through yesterday's news and see if I can find it because where is the news here? Where is the news? I swear Ben Jacobs said it's a Isak replacement, but maybe he didn't. I read it somewhere. Someone said it somewhere. There's so many tweets. Yes, Ben Jacobs did put it out there. He says Newcastle view uh, Nick as the Alexander Isak replacement and could still move for Wissa, who is seen as a Callum Wilson replacement. Wolves are not expecting Larson to depart. And this would make sense. So I think this is really significant news for Liverpool as much as it is Newcastle. They've found that replacement. They've found their striker. 80 million euros. The here we go is done. He will. I actually thought he joined another club earlier on this summer. I must have just lost track of that story because it wasn't connected to an English club. And look, he's going to be a Newcastle player, but I think this is highly significant for Liverpool because I think this is enough encouragement now. So I think you can expect a bid from Liverpool for Alexander Isak. It has to be imminently. There's only 3 days of the transfer window remaining, or two and a half days now, I suppose, because we're getting close to sort of 11 a.m. So, look, it's one of those situations where I think we always knew there was going to end up being a resolution. What I thought was really funny was watching the Newcastle press do this whole, now this deal's done, it could impact the Isak situation. What, like you've been lying to us all summer that it wouldn't, and he's not for sale at any cost. It's just been a nonsense the whole time. I think we all knew this was coming, but a real big, significant update as well. So keep your eyes out for the Alexander Isak bid. But look, I want to thank you all very much for tuning in as always. I know the sound ain't quite as clear as it normally is, but please hit the like button. Please get yourselves subscribing and hype the video up. Hit that hype button for us. Doesn't cost you anything. It just helps the Football Terrace. I know many of you enjoy it a lot. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I will see you all again very, very soon. Peace.